Hello and welcome to KW Connect. I'm Jay Papazan. Today we're going to talk about staging the home. As we progress through this video, please remember that at any time you can get more information on this topic by visiting kellerwilliamsuniversity.com. KWU has a new course titled An Agent's Guide to Seller Staging Strategies that can give you step-by-step instructions and checklists. So let's begin by first giving you some perspective on staging. As you already know, there are three keys to getting a home sold: location, pricing, and condition. And just like pricing, condition is a factor you can control. A home can be sold in virtually any condition if the seller isn't concerned about price. But of course, most people want the best price, and that's why sellers need to stage their homes. And in a shifting market, staging is more important than ever. With so many listings on the market, your seller's home simply must stand out. To gain perspective on what staging means for your business, remember these three things. Number one, staging is a marketing tool. Your seller's home has to stand out. Number two, staging creates something buyers want to purchase. And number three, sellers either have to offer more for the same price as the competition or offer the same quality at a lower price. Why do you like great-looking homes? Because they're easier to sell. An attractive listing will be shown more often, meaning more market exposure. And buyers are looking for value. They have to perceive that the house is worth the price. Staging is how you make that happen. Now, a lot of agents are nervous to even discuss staging with their clients. They fear that their client will reject them, get angry, or be insulted. But you have to remember, your role is to be their fiduciary and try to get them the highest possible offer for their home. And discussing staging with your client is much easier today than it was many years ago. Let's listen to Gary Gentry, one of our very first Keller Williams agents, discuss this recent phenomenon.
One of the great advantages these days is that you'll find a much higher percent of the population is attuned to the concept of staging. Historically, that was not the case, but now with HGTV, all the different programs that are available generally, people have greater awareness all the time of how this is good and accepted and beneficial real estate practice to be able to do this. So this moves a portion of the population from being totally reluctant to being responsive, and in some cases to actually seeking out someone who can provide that kind of staging. So that makes your job a lot easier than it used to be.
Let's move on to the first moment where you'll introduce staging with your potential seller. Even though it's easier today with the media's focused on staging property, it can still be a sensitive topic. The goal is, at the listing presentation, to simply inform them that staging their home is a service that you'll offer to get it sold for the best possible price in the shortest time possible. Don't make suggested improvements right then. If you do, you risk losing the potential client over what they may perceive to be insulting recommendations. So don't discuss staging in detail until you have a signed listing agreement. There are a few scripts you can use before the listing agreement is signed to sell this benefit to your potential client. You can inform them that their selling price will be higher with the staging, and you will only recommend changes that will promise a return for their time, effort, and money. Give real examples of staged properties in their area that have sold for more money or in a shorter time than unstaged properties. Be sure to gauge their reactions and adjust your presentation accordingly. Again, there are scripts available for this in our new KWU course, An Agent's Guide to Seller Staging Strategies. Now let's check in with Gary Gentry and take a look at how he accomplishes this with his listing presentation. We're going to see Gary handle this in three ways. First with the seller who's resistant to the idea of staging, then with the seller who's receptive to staging their home, and finally with the seller who's ready to get started and stage their home right away.
Thanks again for showing me through the house. That's great. I got lots of good information, and by you sharing everything that you know about the house and letting me put that down, I feel like I've got a real good inventory now of all the selling features of the house.
Oh, great.
Now, what I haven't looked at today, I haven't looked at any of the suggestions that we might make from a staging standpoint.
Okay.
That would be something that we'll do at a future time, and then that's a service that we provide to give you a way to enhance all the selling features of this house, just to try to sell it at the highest possible price.
I have to tell you that I'm really hesitant to do any kind of staging. I mean, I've seen the shows, and I don't really want to live in a staged house. I'm going to have to live here while it's on the market, and I just have an active life, and I don't know that I want to live in a staged house.
I understand. It's not a normal situation, is it?
No, it's a little stressful.
And you've probably seen some of the television renditions of that.
Well, and that's the other thing. It can be very expensive. I mean, am I going to have to redo rooms and that kind of thing? It worries me.
Those are very legitimate concerns,
Okay.
and I can see why that would be of concern to you or really to anybody.
Okay.
And I really haven't looked at the house in that regard today at all.
Okay.
So, we'll just kind of defer that. It's your property, and you're the one that needs to make those decisions, and I never forget that.
Okay.
I would not be fulfilling my obligation to you as a person that's been in this business for 25 years and knows what makes properties sell for more money and in a shorter period of time if I didn't share it with you. But then it's your decision what you want to do with it.
Okay.
The other thing, to just kind of reassure you, on that list, there will never be anything that makes the list that doesn't more than pay you back.
Okay.
And I mean, from that standpoint, both in terms of time, effort, or if there's money to be spent,
Okay.
it would always pay you back, and by a factor greater than what it might cost. But, that's your decision, and I'm really not even dealing with that today, but I certainly understand those concerns.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Justine, for showing me through the house. And as you noticed, I took a lot of notes so that I've got all the selling features of the house. What I didn't do today is I didn't look at it through the eyes of a buyer or a buyer's agent, looking for anything that we could use to enhance those basic selling features. And that's part of the staging service that we provide, so that once we put the house on the market, we're taking every feature that's a positive feature, enhancing that to the maximum degree. So we're kind of turning up the emotional appeal by arrangement of things and by just showing the house off at its best.
Okay. Well, I've heard about staging, and I'm very interested to see what your comments would be or how you would change the house. I'm very interested in that.
Great. Well, that'll be something that we'll do, and I think you'll probably really enjoy that.
Okay.
I can give you some suggestions, too, if you've looked at some of the programs on cable where they show staging your home and that sort of thing. It'll give you some ideas, and then I've got a 16-minute DVD that I'll show you. I'll just leave with you, and then you can look at that. It shows you before and after.
Oh, wow.
And I think you'll really like that because it gives you a good sense of what the 5 basic principles are that we're trying to capitalize on. And I tell you, the results of that are truly amazing in terms of getting a higher price and selling it in a much shorter period of time.
Well, that sounds great to me. That's what we're going for.
Well,
so.
you'll enjoy that. That'll be fun when we get into that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and move into some of the paperwork. Thanks, Justine, for showing me the house. It's a great house, and this will be fun, I think, especially as we start to get this ready.
Can I ask you something before we go into this? I'm really I've seen the shows. I think it's important that we stage this house, and I want to make sure that that's something that we can do together, that's something that you offer, because that's important to me.
Absolutely. This really will be fun in that case because you're going to love the results of that staging. This is a service that I provide such that I'll have your house staged and we'll go through it in a very detailed fashion. Today what I've done is put down all the details of the house, all of the inventory of the selling features of the house. When I walk through and stage the house, at that point I'm looking at it through the eyes of a buyer or a buyer's agent. And so at that point I'm looking at anything that will enhance the saleability of the house, the price that we're going to be able to get on the house, and we're looking at it through the eyes of the buyer. We're turning up that emotional dial.
So what are some of the specific things I can do now to get started? What are some things I can be working on now? Okay.
Well, I can give you an idea, and I haven't drilled down to actually look at it through that lens today.
Because I'd really like to get started.
Well, it sounds like it. It sounds like that's something that you're real positive, and you already recognize the benefits of that to help you get a higher price.
Oh, sure.
So, okay, great. Well, an example would be, as you walk into a room, you always have a natural focal point. That room was designed that way, or through the arrangement of furniture, or in the example of these windows, we've got those drapes pulled. This house has a lot of light that could be coming in through those windows, so I'd have that pulled back as an example. Okay. So when a person turns the corner at the stairs, or when they walk in the front door, immediately their eyes are drawn by the light.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about that.
Well, that's neat. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we do this, and then we can get started on the next step of the process, that staging. Why don't we go ahead and get started on this paperwork now?
All right.
We're going to work on the paperwork and get you going on that, and then we can go ahead and schedule that staging right away. How does that sound to you?
That sounds good.
Okay, great. Now, this is a seller's disclosure notice.
Remember, honesty pays off. Let them know your goal for bringing it up is to simply give them all the information possible in order to sell their home quickly and for the most money. Don't make it an issue. The point is for them to work with you with the understanding that you will recommend they stage their home. That closes this part of staging the home. Please come back for part 2 and we'll discuss what to do after they sign the listing agreement. We'll see you then.